Hello, this is Hayden Young. This is my submission for homework 1 for computer system design. And if you look at my code here, it is not on Vetus. I had some trouble getting the IDE working, um, but in the future, for all the other assignments, I will be coding on Vetus. So I'm sorry for any inconvenience about that. And if my voice sounds strange, that's because I've been sick for the past couple of days. But what I'm going to do today is I want to explain my code and then I'm going to give a little bit of a demo. So the first thing my code does is in R0 it loads input data and R1 it loads output data. And then in R2 it loads 32, which is the size of the data. And then it's going to start pulling numbers from input data and storing them in output data. And every time it does this, it decreases the count by 1 and updates the flags. And if the 0 flag is not on, it's going to repeat this process. And so basically, this is going to take everything in input data and put it in output data. So that way, bubble sort can just be concerned with output data and then finish the program. So here in R2, I load 0, which is the counter for the outer loop. And then in R0, I load output data. In R1, I load output data. And then I increase R1 by 4. And this is so it's actually referencing the second element in output data now. And then I'm going to set R3 to 0, and this is the counter for the inner loop. So then at R4, I set it equal to the element at R0, and at R5 is going to load the element at the address R1. And then I'm going to compare those two elements. I'm going to increment the count, and then if the element on the left is bigger, so in this case R4, then I branch over swap. And in swap, I swap the elements by storing R5 in R0 and R4 in R1. And then I'm going to increase both R0 and R1 by 4, and this is so they move to the next address, so I can swap, or not swap, the next two numbers. So then I'm going to compare R3 to 31, and if it's bigger, I'm going to end the loop. And if it's not bigger, I'm going to branch back to inner loop. And after this is run through 31 times, it's going to go to inner loop end. So down here at inner loop end, what we do is we increment R2 by 1, and then we're going to compare R2 to 31, just like we did with the inner loop, except now it's with the outer loop. And so if it's bigger, we end the loop, and if not, we start up again. So that's the basic gist of my code. So now I'm going to do a little demo. So I'm going to compile this, and we're going to step into. And here in a second, I'll move over to memory and show you how it's transcribing things. So if you look, as I press step into, it's getting replaced with the values from the input data. I'm just going to do this for a while until we get down to bubble sort. And then finally we come back to bubble sort. And what it's going to do is it's going to set everything up. and then it realizes that it needs to swap, so it goes through and does that. Comes back up and does it again. Now if we look over here in memory, we can see that R2 has been swapped with both the 0 and the -7. So if we do it again, you'll see that 2 gets swapped with -1. And yeah, that's basically how my code works. I'm not going to run all the way through this because that would take a very long time. Uh, but yeah, I thank you for watching, and that's all.